On the 19th of March 2026, the Minister of Women's Affairs met with the Brazilian Secretary for Asia and the Pacific at the Women's Economic Empowerment and Development Center in Phnom Penh. Both sides discussed strengthening bilateral relations and exploring opportunities to enhance cooperation in women's entrepreneurship, including networking and the use of technology to support women entrepreneurs.
The Ministry of Public Works and Transport has clarified the documentation fees and penalty conditions for renewing driving licenses that expired no more than 30 days ago. The guidance is based on Practice number 047SK, dated the 17th of January 2017, on the issuance of driving licenses and points cards. It also specifies where applicants can access public service centers. The Ministry of Public Works and Transport held an internal meeting to carry out a final review of the draft law on logistics. The session was chaired by a representative of the MPWT Secretary of State and brought together technical working groups and legal advisors to prepare for an upcoming National Logistics Council meeting. The Minister of Public Works and Transport chaired a meeting to review and discuss a draft practice on identification marks for vehicles engaged in commercial transport. The regulation aims to define identification signs for passenger and freight transport vehicles operating within Cambodia. The Ministry of Water Resources and Meteorology met with representatives from Korea Exim Bank to review the irrigation development and flood mitigation project in Bantay Minche province. The project has reached 96.18% completion as of the 13th of March. 2026, the parties discussed resolving delays linked to global fuel price issues, problems with the flow of administrative documentation, and the need for an operation and maintenance budget plan ahead of the project's expected completion in June 2027.
The Accounting and Auditing Regulator, together with the Kampuchea Institute of Certified Public Accountants and Auditors, and the University of Management and Economics Preah Sihanouk campus, organized a dissemination workshop on the law on accounting and auditing and related regulations. The event targeted lecturers and students in accounting-related fields. It also included the handover of key sector reference documents for the university library. The Director General of the Securities and Exchange Regulator of Cambodia took part in the 2025 annual review meeting of Phase 4 of the Public Financial Management Reform Program at the Ministry of Economy and Finance. The meeting, chaired by the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Economy and Finance, examined and discussed the 2025 Annual Monitoring and Evaluation Report.
The Securities and Exchange Regulator of Cambodia met with the National Committee for Subnational Democratic Development to discuss climate change adaptation investment projects. The meeting focused on gathering experience, challenges, and recommendations related to potential cooperation on climate finance and environmental, social, and governance projects via the Cambodian securities sector.
The Ministry of Environment published an explanatory note on the concept of carbon credits and their role in combating climate change. The note describes how carbon credits are generated, traded, and used in carbon offsetting, and it highlights their function in encouraging sustainable development and environmental responsibility in the private sector. The Ministry of Environment released an editorial-style explainer that outlines carbon credits as financial instruments linked to greenhouse gas emission reductions. The note describes how carbon credits are generated, traded, and used as an incentive mechanism to support sustainable development and climate change mitigation. It provides a non-regulatory overview aimed at raising awareness among stakeholders about carbon offset and pricing mechanisms.
The Minister of Environment met with Tsepora Berman, founder and chair of the Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty, to discuss Cambodia's progress on renewable energy and its climate commitments. Berman proposed that Cambodia, as a regional leader in renewable energy, support in principle and potentially host the third international conference on fossil fuel phase-out in 2007 or 2008. The minister will submit that suggestion to the Prime Minister for consideration.
The Governor of the National Bank of Cambodia received a high-level delegation from Bank of China, led by the Chief Executive of Bank of China Hong Kong, to discuss opportunities in Cambodia's financial sector. They talked about potential expansion of Bank of China's operations, possible new financial instruments, and measures to promote wider use of the riel in financial transactions.
The Trust Regulator's Department of Legal Affairs and Inspection participated in a Ministry of Economy and Finance meeting to review a draft process on establishing a legal reform working group. The session gathered MEF units and non-bank financial regulators to promote a common understanding and interpretation of the laws and regulations under their authority. The Minister of Post and Telecommunications held a working meeting with mobile internet and fiber optic operators to discuss governance reforms in the sector and actions against technology-based scams. The operators committed to cooperate on measures including monitoring high-capacity internet use, cutting services to suspected illegal locations, and strengthening SIM and cybersecurity controls.
During her working visit to Phnom Penh, Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Prak Sokhonn met with Susan Kleebank, Secretary of Asia and the Pacific of Brazil's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They reviewed the progress of Cambodia-Brazil relations, discussed cooperation in several sectors, and exchanged views on the Cambodia-Thailand border situation and other regional and international issues. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation and the Embassy of Japan in Cambodia signed an exchange of notes amending Japan's grant assistance for the expansion of the water supply system in Tak Mau. The grant amount was increased from 3.421 billion Japanese yen, about $22 million, to 3.568 billion Japanese yen, about $23 million. On the 19th of March 2026, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, in cooperation with the ASEAN Japan Center, held a workshop in Phnom Penh to promote ASEAN awareness among university students. Around 100 students from various universities participated. The event aimed to strengthen public understanding of ASEAN and its community-building process.
On the 18th of March 2026, the Ministry of Commerce held a meeting to review and monitor progress on the draft Cambodia Trade Policy Framework towards 2030. The framework is intended to guide strategies and policy directions for trade sector development, support Cambodia's preparation for LDC graduation by 2299, and enhance competitiveness through improvements to the trade and business environment.
The commercial attaché at the Royal Embassy of Cambodia in Japan met with representatives of Jumbo Tours Co., Limited, and Mago Koro Cambodia to discuss strengthening cooperation in trade, investment, education, and tourism between Cambodia and Japan. The mission also supported the promotion of Cambodian products at FoodX Japan 2026. It explored charter flights, educational support, and a planned Khmer restaurant in Okinawa. At a Lunar New Year event in Kuala Lumpur, attended by Cambodia's commercial attaché, the Malaysia-Cambodia Business Association signed a memorandum of understanding to establish a branch in Sabah, Malaysia. The Cambodian representative also highlighted Cambodia's investment climate, the recent simplification of business registration procedures, and opportunities to expand Cambodian exports to Malaysia.
The General Department of Immigration held a dissemination meeting on Practice number 12644 to explain the forms and procedures for registering newly born foreign immigrants in annex tables, and for requesting recognition of foreign immigrant children aged 18 and above who are already listed under their immigrant parents. The session was led by the Director of the Department of Foreign Immigrants and Refugees and targeted foreign immigrants living in Lum Choa Commune, Oyar Dav District, Ratanakiri Province. Provincial immigration officials and representatives of the Khmer Vietnamese Association took part in the meeting.
The Minister of Tourism presided over the annual general meeting of the British Chevening Alumni Association of Cambodia, which was attended by the UK ambassador and more than 100 participants. The event underlined the contribution of Chevening alumni to Cambodia's development and their role in strengthening Cambodia-United Kingdom relations, including cooperation in tourism.
The Ministry of Industry, Science, Technology and Innovation has officially launched the Science, Technology and Innovation, or STI, evaluation criteria. The new criteria are intended to modernize STI governance and support the implementation of the Royal Government's Pentagonal Strategy, Phase 1, which prioritizes technology as a key driver for Cambodia's 2050 high-income vision. The Ministry of Education, Youth and Sport, together with UNICEF, held a consultation workshop on the draft results report of the Capacity Development Partnership Fund Phase 3, CDPF 3. The meeting reviewed effectiveness and sustainability, examined key achievements and obstacles, and looked at evidence needs to guide future education projects and partner participation in Cambodia's Joint Education Fund.
The Ministry of Education, Youth and Sport has officially launched Phase 2, covering 2026 to 2028 of the Cambodia Child School Health Development Project. The project is being implemented by STEP, with support from the Nippon Foundation. This new phase aims to establish a specialized school health subject for lower secondary teacher training, aligned with the National Action Plan on School Health 2021-2030.
The Ministry of Inspection held a weekly meeting, chaired by Minister Sok Sokan, to review progress on several key legal instruments. These included a draft practice on the Code of Conduct for officials, the Ministry's internal regulations, and a concept note for drafting the law on inspection. The meeting also examined the Ministry's Inspection Action Plan and the mechanisms for monitoring law implementation under its P4C4 strategy. The National Assembly Standing Committee has approved the receipt of a draft law on combating fraud via technological systems submitted by the Royal Government and has assigned it to the Legal and Judicial Commission to study together with other relevant commissions. The committee also agreed to place a draft amendment to the law on the election of senators on the agenda of the upcoming 5th session of the 7th Legislature. On the 19th of March 2026, the National Assembly's Legal Council convened to review and provide comments on a draft decision concerning the roles and duties of the Assembly's committees. The draft aims to modernize and clarify the working mechanisms and mandates of the 10 specialized committees to improve institutional effectiveness.
The National Assembly, in cooperation with the National Bank of Cambodia, held a seminar on the importance of the riel and its role in Cambodia's economy. Speakers highlighted the riel as a symbol of national sovereignty and as a tool for more effective monetary management, and they underlined strategies to reduce reliance on the U.S. dollar. Kampong Spao Provincial Police, led by the Provincial Police Commissioner, inspected a rented house in Samrang Tong district and detained 6 Indonesian nationals suspected of involvement in online scam activities. The operation followed national directives to eradicate technology-based fraud originating from Cambodia and applied Sub-Decree No. 03 on security management at locations where foreigners reside and gather.
Between 17 and the 19th of March 2026, Acting President of the Senate, Uch Bovirath, led a delegation of Senate members for Constituency 2. They met with 2,129 commune and Sangket council members and local officials across 10 districts and the municipality of Kampong Cham. The mission focused on sharing information about Cambodia's current situation and achievements, explaining the Senate's functions, and outlining Cambodia's foreign policy stance and its approach to the Cambodia-Thailand border dispute.